All right, well, welcome to the third installment of Music Lessons the Easy Way. Today we're going to talk about major and minor scales. So these two scales, there's a lot of different scales out there, but these two are the main two we're going to utilize to build all the melodies and also extract a lot of the harmonies that pretty much every song in the world uses, right? In every style, whether it's classical or jazz, pop, rock, whatever it is. Scales are the key to understanding music theory. So we're going to start with the C major scale. This is the easiest scale to play. Start from C. And then we know from our interval lesson, we know how to build half steps and whole steps, right? So for the purposes of this lesson, half steps, we're just going to call that number 1, and whole steps, we're going to call number 2, all right? So to build a C major scale, we start from C, and then we go up 2, whole step, and 2, then 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. So that pattern, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Or for a tongue twister, you can say whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, right? Same thing. That is probably the most important pattern to ever learn in music theory, because that's how we build our major scales, right? And everything comes from the major scales. So if we want to start on a different note, let's just go up to D. We'll start on D. We follow the same pattern. 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. And now we have the D major scale. All right, it sounds just like the C major scale, right? Just start on a different note. What's important to recognize is that there are 2 black keys in there, right? We had F sharp and C sharp, right? The C major scale had no black keys. That was an all natural scale, and it's the only major scale that is all white keys, right? All natural notes. So all the other 11 scales, remember there are 12 different notes in music. So the other 11 scales are all going to have at least 1 black key. Some of them are going to have a lot, right? So we can use this pattern starting anywhere. It doesn't have to start on a white key. We can start on a black key, right? Let's start on D flat, build the D flat major scale. So we follow our pattern, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. There we go, and it sounds correct. So what's important to understand about these scales, first of all the melodies we ever play are going to come from scales, right? Many of them come from the major scale. But it's also important to understand that this is what defines a key in music, right? You may have seen, like Alicia Keys has an album called Songs in the Key of A Minor, right? So, presumably all the songs on that album are in A minor, although I think not all of them are. I can't remember. You may have seen Chopin, a very famous composer, has a very famous piece called Nocturne in E flat, right? So that whole song is in the key of E flat, And so the sharp and flat notes that we find when we use this pattern, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, those are what define the key that we're playing in. So if I were to play a song like Somewhere Over the Rainbow in the key of C, I'm going to use the C major scale. Let's play Somewhere Over the Rainbow. All right, so you saw all white keys there, right? It was all white keys. Well, now if we play it in the key of D, we have to remember that F and C were sharp. All right, let's play Somewhere Over the Rainbow in the key of D. All right, so you see we had that C sharp. Let's try it with a C natural and see how it sounds. Incorrect, right? So you see why it's important to observe the keys, right? And at the beginning of any sheet music you ever read, which in jazz and rock and pop, we don't do a whole lot of that particularly, but it's very important to observe the key signature, because at the beginning of the piece, you'll see some sharps or flats after the clef, the treble clef or the bass clef. That's what that means. It means all those notes have to be sharp or flat throughout the entire piece, right? It defines what key the song is in. Let's try Somewhere Over the Rainbow in D flat. This was the one that used all the black keys, right? Let's try it out. See that? You can make the same exact melody. So every melody, this is important, every melody you ever heard can be played in all 12 keys, right? And vocalists are the biggest perpetrators of wanting to change the key of a song. It's actually rather annoying. You can spend some time learning a song, and then you go to the rehearsal and the vocalist decides that they don't particularly like that key and it doesn't fit in their range well, and can we change the key? And then we have to transpose all of the notes in that song to a different key to satisfy the vocalist. So that happens a lot. But if you understand music theory, it's not really a big deal, right? And you have to practice all of your scales. You have to learn all 12 major scales and know them well and know what keys are sharp and what keys are flat. It sounds like it'll take a long time, but if you get started, it's really not all that bad. Now, these scales, this theory works with every instrument, right? Whether you play the violin or the guitar or the saxophone, it's all the same thing. The theory applies. However, particularly on the piano, there are specific finger patterns that you can use, and you can Google these. They're out there on the internet, but they're all different. So for instance, when I play the C major scale with my left hand, I'm going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I can't use that pattern on the D flat scale. It's a different pattern. And furthermore, the right hand uses a different pattern from that. Right? So it takes a little while to get them down on the piano, but just like any instrument, everything's going to be different for each scale. So learn these and learn them well. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is the minor scale. Now, we heard that the major scale has a very happy sound. Well, the minor scale is going to have a darker sound, right? So the minor scale pattern, let's start from A. We're going to start with the A minor scale because this is the easiest one. So we start from A, and we go up 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. And you hear the difference in how that sounds, right? It's a much darker sound. Let's start that from C. 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Major and minor scales are the foundation for all the melodies you're ever going to play. And we're also going to extrapolate our chords from these scales, right? And the method I showed you with these patterns, the 2-2-1 patterns, it's just kind of a cheater method to get you started. And realistically, you want to learn them by the key that they're in. But it's also a lot easier to get started. If you know that pattern and you're in a bind and you have to figure out a scale really quick, just pull out that pattern and you're ready to go. All right, so the next lesson, we're going to start building simple chords.